To Know a Fly by Vincent Dethier. Welcome to my YouTube channel Bachelor and Master English. Today we are talking about Vincent Dethier's essay To Know a Fly. In our today's discussion there shall be introduction of this topic, there will be topic at a glance, the substance of this essay will be discussed. Then there will be point wise breakdown of this essay with the discussion and analysis will be made, and the 4 levels of reading of the text will be made. I am sure you will accompany me till the end of this video. If you are new to my channel, please subscribe my channel, or if you have been watching as a non-subscriber, please encourage me by subscribing. Your one subscription will lead me to a ladder of success, and I shall be working a lot to help those students who are deprived of these opportunities to study, and they will study at home, and this will be an alternative discussion to the studies of language and literature. So I am really hopeful for you, and okay, here we go with the introduction. The title of this text is To Know a Fly. The author of this text is Professor Vincent Dethier. Publication, the original publication was there in 1962, and this is the genre of literature categorized as essay. And this concept of this essay is science, and the type of essay that you have is reflective, meditative type of essay. Thesis: a properly conducted experiment is a beautiful thing. An experiment is a scientist's way of asking nature a question. This would explain many reasons for such a desire people convey to science. So, this is the thesis of this essay. Now, here we go with the substance of this essay. An experiment is a way of asking nature a question. The scientist alters the questions, observes a result, and draws a conclusion. Absence of proper experiment is a scientific sin. Experiment is not meant for a confused mind. A wrong experiment is like trying to know the hearing body of a flea and conclude wrongly that it hears with back legs. Likewise, it is to know wrongly that water or tumbler is intoxicant in alcohol. Another common fallacy on experiment is of confusing correlation with cause and effect. For example, earthquake causes when the window curtain is pulled, but meaningful question can be asked to fly according to different interpretation, although it does not speak. It cannot yet be informative on a good experiment. Let us ask the sense of taste in the fly. Why it sticks around the food makes a good question. If it is thirsty, it will crane out the proboscis or trunk, and vice versa. Another experiment similarly can be conducted to it on 2 saucers, one of water and another of sugared water. If water proboscis is in, and if sugar, it is out. The fly holds acute sense of taste. It will not taste the weakest sugar solution. A hungry fly is sensitive. We can try it on different sugars: cane sugar, malt sugar, milk sugar, etc. It will not choose salt or artificial sugar. One can catch more flies with honey than with vinegar. Likewise, tests can be conducted from quinine water to tobacco water. Before making point-wise breakdown, let's talk about this essay in Nepali. The title of this essay is translated as झिङ्गालाई चिन्नु पर्दा। यो शीर्षक नै हेर्दाखेरि कीटपतङ्ग सम्बन्धी विज्ञता हासिल गरेको मान्छेले लेखेको हुनुपर्छ। यो यसो हेर्दाखेरि एउटा प्राणी विज्ञान शास्त्र अन्तर्गत त्यसमा पनि कीटपतङ्गको विज्ञले चाहिँ लेखेको हुँदा यहाँ चाहिँ कीटपतङ्ग एउटा सामान्य झिँगाको बारेमा एउटा मान्छेले लेख्न खोजेको छ। त्यो फेरि झिँगाको कस्तो भन्दाखेरि झिँगा यस्तो हुन्छ उस्तो हुन्छ भनेर झिँगाको कुरो होइन कि झिँगाले कसरी चाहिँ एउटा गुलियो भएको चिज र गुलियो नभएको चिज पत्ता लगाउँछ, कसरी चाहिँ वैज्ञानिकहरूले चाहिँ त्यसलाई चाहिँ राम्रोसँग अध्ययन गर्दा रहेछन्, त्यस्तो सूक्ष्म अध्ययन कसरी वैज्ञानिकहरूले गर्न सक्दा रहेछन्। अब मान्छेले चाहिँ अब हावादारी चाहिँ तर्क निकालेर चाहिँ गरेको भन्दा वैज्ञानिक अनुसन्धान विधिबाट गरेका तर्कहरू निष्कर्षहरू नै चाहिँ एउटा प्रमाणित मानिन्छन् र तिनीहरू नै चाहिँ अध्ययन र अनुसन्धानको क्षेत्रमा प्रयोग हुन्छन्। तिनी कुराहरू नै हो। त्यो भएर चाहिँ परीक्षण एउटा राम्रोसँग अथवा उचित तरिकाले गरिनुपर्छ। त्यो साहसी एउटा अभियान हो। अनि मूर्खैपूर्ण परीक्षण गर्नु हुँदैन। मूर्खैपूर्ण परीक्षण गर्दा आफै नै पङ्गु हुने काम हुन्छ। अनि त्यो भएर निबन्धकारले परीक्षण भनेको के हो त भन्दाखेरि उपलब्धि चाहनेहरू, सपना हेर्नेहरू र साहस गर्नेहरूको लागि हुनुपर्छ भनेर चाहिँ उसले भनेको छ। अब मानिस र झिँगामा स्वाद लिने तरिका फरक हुन्छ। अब मानिसले जुन तरिकाले स्वाद लिन्छ त्यो झिँगाले त्यसरी लिन्न भन्ने कुरा पनि यहाँ चाहिँ वैज्ञानिक अनुसन्धानबाट यहाँको लेखक वैज्ञानिक कीटपतङ्ग विज्ञ भिन्सेन्ट डेथियर प्रोफेसर प्राध्यापक भिन्सेन्ट डेथियरले त्यो कुरा चाहिँ भनेका छन्। के छ भन्दाखेरि अब हामीले अब यो निबन्ध अनुसार उचित तरिकाले गरिएको प्रयोग परीक्षण एक सुन्दर कुरा हो। एक साहसिलो कार्य अभियान र विजय मानिन्छ यसलाई। परीक्षण भनेको वैज्ञानिकले प्रकृतिसँग प्रश्न सोध्ने एक प्रक्रिया हो। उसले कुनै एक अवस्थालाई परिवर्तन गर्छ, परिणामको अवलोकन गर्छ र निष्कर्ष निकाल्छ। अव्यवस्थित मस्तिष्कको लागि यो एउटा खेल हुन सक्दैन। वैज्ञानिक परीक्षण कार्य र कारणमा भर पर्छ र हाम्रो तर्कको माध्यमबाट अर्थ पत्ता लगाउन सक्छौँ। परीक्षणको परिणाम गलत हुने विभिन्न बाटाहरू छन्। अति सामान्य रूपमा वैज्ञानिक गल्ती गरिने अवस्था उचित परीक्षणको नियन्त्रणको अभावले गर्दा हो। निबन्धकारले गलत परिणाम आउने केही परीक्षणहरूको उदाहरणहरू दिएको छन्। एउटा मानिसले एउटा उपियाँमा यसले कानबाट सुन्ने गर्छ कि भनेर परीक्षण गर्यो। उफ्री भन्ने शब्दको आदेशमा उफ्रिन अभ्यास गरायो। त्यसपछि उसले उपियाँका पखेटाहरू काट्यो। आदेश दिँदा उपियाँ उफ्रियो। पुनः उसले पछाडिका खुट्टाहरू काट्यो, त्यो उफ्रियो। त्यसपछि अगाडिका खुट्टाहरू काट्यो र उफ्रिन आदेश दियो। निश्चय नै त्यो यसले उफ्रिन सकेन। केही पनि नभएपछि त्यसका चाहिँ अङ्ग त्यो जुन उफ्रिने कुराहरू नै नभएपछि कसरी? त्यो मूर्खले उपियाँका दुवै अथवा सबै खुट्टाहरू काटेको कुरा सोचेन अनि खुट्टाबाट सुन्दो रहेछ भनेर खुसीले निष्कर्ष निकाल्यो। कस्तो बेवकुफै। अर्को मूर्खैपूर्ण परीक्षण एउटा मानिसद्वारा रक्सी र पानी, रम र पानी, स्कच र पानी आदिका मिश्रणमा रहेको नसाको गुणबारे पत्ता लगाउन गरियो। यी सबै मिश्रणहरूमा पानीको महत्त्व र प्रभावबारे उसले सोच्यो। त्यसैले उसले पानी विभिन्न गिलासहरूमा खन्याउँदै पानीमाथि नै परीक्षण गर्यो। यसका लागि कागजका कपहरू पनि प्रयोग गर्यो। नसाको वास्तविक कारण गिलास नै हो भन्ने निष्कर्ष निकाल्यो। एउटा नास्तिक वैज्ञानिकले एक जोडी जुम्ल्या बालकहरूमा धर्मको प्रभावकारिताबारे परीक्षण गर्यो। एउटा बालकलाई क्रिस्चियन नामकरण गरियो र अर्कोलाई नियन्त्रणभित्र राख्यो। अर्को सामान्य भ्रम कारण र कार्य बीचमा रहेको अस्पष्ट सम्बन्ध पनि हो। यसको उदाहरण एउटा बलात्मिक कुरालाई लिएर दिइन्छ। त्यो व्यक्ति भूकम्प भएको तुरुन्त पछि एउटा घरबाट निकालेर बचाइएको थियो। के भएको थियो भने प्रश्नको उत्तरमा उसले भन्यो कि उसले झ्यालको पर्दा तान्दा पुरै घर नै लडेको थियो। सुन्दा पनि हाँसो लाग्यो। निबन्धकारले सत्य कुरो गरेको छ कि परीक्षण भनेको उपलब्धि चाहनेहरू, सपना हेर्नेहरू र साहस गर्नेहरूको लागि हो। यो मैले पहिला पनि भने हो। एक प्रसिद्ध प्राध्यापकले एउटा ढेडु बाँदरको क्षमतालाई परीक्षण गर्न विभिन्न सामग्रीहरू प्रयोग गरेको कुरा निबन्धकारले सम्झेका छन्। ऊ आफू पनि वैज्ञानिक। अब यो जोखिमपूर्ण कार्य थियो र झिँगाबाट जानकारी प्राप्त गर्नु पनि अति जोखिमपूर्ण कार्य हो। झिँगाले स्वाद कसरी लिन्छ? जिब्रोले वा सुँडले वा खुट्टाहरूले? झिँगाको स्वाद लिने बारे सामान्य विश्वास छ कि यो खानेकुरामा हिँड्छ र जिब्रोले स्वाद लिन्छ। यथार्थमा झिँगाले खुट्टाबाट स्वाद पाएर सुँडलाई तल झारेर खानेकुरा सोच्छ। वैज्ञानिक अनुसन्धानले पत्ता लाग्यो। परीक्षणका लागि हामीले एक सिसा कलम लिनुपर्छ र त्यसमा झिँगालाई टाँसिनको लागि सिसा कलमको एक कुना मैनमा डुबाउनुपर्छ। केही छिन दुवैलाई चिस्याउनुपर्छ। त्यसपछि झिँगाको पखेटाहरू बाँध्नुपर्छ। चिनी घोलिएको पानीमाथि त्यसलाई ल्याउनुपर्छ। चिनी सोच्न यसले खुट्टाले छुने बित्तिकै सुँड तल झार्छ। चिनी नभएको पानीमा यसले कुनै प्रतिक्रिया देखाउँदैन, तर चिनी भएकोमा उसले सुँड तल झार्छ। यसरी चाहिँ वैज्ञानिकले पत्ता लगाएका छन्। मानिस र झिँगामा फेरि स्वाद लिने क्षमता कसको बढी छ भन्ने कुराको परीक्षण गर्न 10 वटा रिकाबीहरू लिनुपर्छ। भिन्सेन्ट डेथियरको अनुसार पहिलो रिकाबीमा पानी हालेर 1 चम्चा चिनी घोल्ने, घोलिसकेपछि त्यो रिकाबीको घोल पानी हालिएको दोस्रो तेस्रो रिकाबीहरूमा आधी आधी गर्दै थप्दै जाने। यो प्रक्रिया 10 वटै रिकाबीहरूमा दोहोऱ्याइरहनुपर्छ। पानीमा सबभन्दा बढी चिनी घोलिएको रिकाबीमा यसले सुँड तल पारेर सोच्छ। यसले प्रमाणित गर्नै छ कि मानिसभन्दा झिँगामा स्वाद लिने क्षमता बढी हुन्छ। भोको झिँगा मानिसभन्दा 1 करोड गुणा बढी संवेदनशील हुन्छ। 1 करोड गुणा। बडा अचम्मको कुरा छ। विभिन्न गन्ध र स्वादहरूमा विभिन्न तरिकाले झिँगाले प्रतिक्रिया देखाउँछ। यसले नुन, अमिलो आदिलाई अस्वीकार गर्छ, तर अत्याधिक चिनीको मात्रा भएको घोलको रिकाबीमा तुलनात्मक रूपमा सुँडको प्रयोग बढी गर्छ। यसरी वैज्ञानिक कीटपतङ्ग विज्ञ भिन्सेन्ट डेथियरले यो सही तरिकाले गरेको विश्लेषण एउटा राम्रो अथवा सुन्दर चिज हो भन्ने कुरा यो निबन्धमा यसको निष्कर्ष निकालेका छन्। अब यदि भनिसकेपछि हामी मानवले, जुन हामी पढे गुनेका मान्छेहरूले तथ्यमा विश्वास गर्नुपर्छ। अनुसन्धानबाट निकालिएको त्यसको तथ्य निष्कर्षमा हामी अगाडि बढ्नुपर्छ। हाम्रो अध्ययन अनुसन्धान, हाम्रो चाहिँ एउटा सिकाइको स्तर, हाम्रो पढाइको लेखाइको स्तरहरू अनुसन्धानमा आधारित हुनुपर्छ। जति अनुसन्धानमा आधारित भयो त्यति कुराहरू चाहिँ सही रूपमा जान सक्छ र सही समस्याहरू भयो भने त्यही अनुसार समाधान गर्न सकिन्छ। अब सही कुराहरूको जानकारी यसरी दिन सकिन्छ भन्ने कुरा छ। ओके, that's all with the discussion of To Know a Fly by Vincent Dethier in Nepali. Now it's time for me to discuss this essay on this point-wise breakdown. Here are 12 points. Under these 12 points, I am making a discussion here. First, characteristics of a scientific experiment. It is an expedition, a conquest, and a beautiful thing. It starts with these facts: the world is real, our senses can be trusted, effects have causes, meaning can be discovered by reason. It continues with an observation and a question. An experiment is a scientist's way of asking nature a question. Number 2, two ways of going experiment astray. First of them is the lack of proper experimental control. Nothing should be allowed to chance or coincidence, and Second is the confusing correlation with cause and effect. Number 3, an example of proper experimental control. A certain gentleman made a flea to obey him. To know whether fleas have ear, he amputated its feelers, then his forelegs and hindmost legs. Then he concluded that fleas hear with legs and obey his order jump. And also there is a story of another man who tried with bourbon and water, rum and water, scotch and water, rye and water, and gin and water, to know which component of his mixed drink caused intoxication. He tried with water and glass and paper cups endlessly. And number 4, an example of confusing correlation with cause and effects. A certain gentleman was extricated from the rubble of an apartment house immediately after an earthquake. The rescuers asked him, "Do you know what happened?" He replied that he remembered pulling down the window, said, and that caused the whole building to collapse. Number 5, the importance of question. The question decides the scientist's intellectual stature. Many researchers have tools but no question to ask. They observe nature and don't know what to do with it. Questions can be useful and challenging. Number 6, a biologist or entomologist can ask even a fly. But the problem is that of language barrier. So he uses all sorts of trickery and legerdemain to elicit information from a fly. It is like competing with the fly. Experiment is challenging with both the higher animals, apes, and the lower ones, flies. Number 7, an experiment with a fly to find its sense of taste. The experiment started less than 50 years ago with the observation that flies, bees and butterflies also walked about in their food and stuck out their tongues. The fly would lower its proboscis and will suck in food like a miniature vacuum cleaner. This can be demonstrated by pointing a sheet of paper with sugared water and coloring. The first fly to find it will leave a beautiful trail of lip prints. Everybody sees the proboscis, but none stops to wonder how it works. One should start experiment with it from its legs. Number 8, the first step to test a fly. Take a lead pencil or an applicator stick to work as a handle. Dip one end of it into wax or paraffin until a fly-sized gob accumulates in the handle. Secondly, it should be anesthetized by keeping it in the freezing compartment of a refrigerator for several minutes, then putting his backside down on the wax. Its wings should be sealed onto it with a hot needle. Number 9, second step of the job. Then the fly is lowered over the saucer until its feet just touch it, so that it will suck eagerly. Then the proboscis will be protracted into the head. Secondly, lower the lower the fly into a saucer or sugared water. The proboscis will be flicked out. When lowered into the water again, the proboscis won't come. The rule will be water in, sugar out. It works like a reflex action, and through its action much is learned. Number 10. Who has more acute sense of taste between man and fly? This can be tested by making 10 saucers. First, fill the first saucer with water and stir in 1 teaspoon of sugar. Now pour half of its content of the saucer into another saucer, which should then be filled with water. After stirring, pour half of the contents of the second saucer into a third and fill it with water. Repeat this process until you have a row of 10 saucers. Now lower a fly until its proboscis is taken out. It will stop at the most dilute mixture. It will be found that fly is unbelievably more sensitive than man. A starving fly is 10 million times more sensitive than man. Number 11. Testing other testes of the fly. We can try with other sugars. For example, cane sugar, beet sugar, malt sugar, milk sugar, grape sugar. Each is chemically different. The fly will discriminate in order to grape sugar, in order of grape sugar, cane sugar, malt sugar, milk sugar, beet sugar respectively, but it is not fooled by artificial sweetness. With lest human sense is restricted to sweet, salt, sour and bitter. Flies react differently to different odors. That's the last point here, that is point number 12. Flies reject salt, sour, bitter to us. This can be tested with the proboscis response. It will react the proboscis to sour rejection. In several saucers of sugared water, put 1 pinch, 2 pinches, 3 pinches of sugar respectively. The fly takes out proboscis in the beginning, but it will reject at a point because salt is in excess. This test can be carried out with vinegar, lemon juice, quinine water, aspirin, whiskey, etc. One can study even its stomach. Okay, that's all the discussion, point wise breakdown of this essay. Now here is analysis. The opening sentence of To Know a Fly is, a properly conducted experiment is a beautiful thing. A Professor Dethier's essay can be construed in the same way as an effort to prove this experiment. Dethier says that an experiment is a beautiful thing, and it's not beautiful in its aesthetic sense. It works with some premises, that is, the world is real, effects have causes, our senses can be trusted, and meaning is discovered by reasoning. Experimenting means asking nature our questions that we don't know. This adventure requires two things: control of the variables and understanding the relation a cause with its effect. The writer presents very interesting examples of how experiment is carried out. Number 1. After satisfying its thirst, when a fly touches water with its feet, it will take out its proboscis. Number 2. After preparing a series of varied degrees of sugared solution in 10 different saucers, they can fly the fly can test the weakest sugared solution which we cannot. Number 3, trying the fly on other sugars such as grape sugar, cane sugar, malt sugar, milk sugar, beet sugar, will find the fly has the same choice as human beings in order of decreasing effectiveness. Number 4, after preparing several saucers of sugared water, 1 pinch of salt can be added to one, 2 pinches to another, and so on. The fly will extend its proboscis to the saucer with the least salt and will refuse to extend to the saucer with the most salt. To test the relative sensitivity of its mouth and legs, its legs can be put on the sugar and its mouth into the dye, and then it will color its inside beautifully. Okay, it's time for 4 levels of interpretation, and the first one is literal comprehension. Mr. Vincent Dethier goes into great detail in describing the fly's different aspects of life. The fly is very complex with many human-like characteristics. Flies and some people are very much alike in other aspects. Both prefer what tastes good to what is nutritionally best. Was stated by author, proving these similar characteristics exist. Many experiments and observations were made through the course of this book. This book here. This book means To Know a Fly. It's a collection of different essays. Such experiment needed. Testing the flies' eating habits, adapting to their environment, the different purposes of sensory organs, the reasons for hunger, their unique language, exercise patterns involving light, and their brain complexity. He presented the fly in a way that most people couldn't see the power and abilities of fly possesses. Through the course of this book, each of these aspects were explained in greater detail with experiments proving many theories and observations. The best definition for an experiment was provided by Dethier as an experiment is a scientist's way of asking nature a question. This would explain many reasons for such a desire people convey to science. Now here we go with the interpretation, the second level of reading with the text. This essay might be trying to tell us that human beings are not superior in every way. They are just a part of nature. So far as the test is concerned, the fly can taste better than us. He cannot be fooled by artificial sweetness. Moreover, we suppose that we know different ways of thinking about the problem. Through this essay, Dethier may be trying to tell us the non-scientist in an attempt to communicate the fascination and methods of science to as much or as many people as possible. Dethier uses straightforward and easy language to understand and describe the experiments and discoveries of flies, which gives the reader a whole new perspective on both flies and science in general. He wants people to see a scientist as a human with a family, a job, and problems just like anyone else. His job just happens to deal with science. Professor Vincent Dethier is exposing the day-to-day work of the scientist, or more specifically an entomologist, and is showing society that like any occupation there are frustrations, successes and rewards. Scientists' rewards often are not monetary, but in feeling that they are contributing to the well-being of society and providing new knowledge to the world. Experiment takes causes to verify it. Cause and effect tally it, good or bad. All scientific experiments are based on cause and effect. Sometimes man forgets the correlation between cause and effect and his experiment loses its significance. Proper understanding and good brain guide to understand its relationship. Now its third level of reading, that critical thinking. Dethier did a wonderful job of portraying the way the scientific method is implemented to learn and discover new things. He succeeded in making people aware of the importance of science as well as all the animals that shape our world, no matter how small they may be. His readers more aware of the world and helps them to appreciate how intricate nature is, and that science is our way of unraveling the mysteries of our planet. As a reader, we find it very difficult to accept all the ideas expressed in the essay. Many ideas mentioned in the essay are quite puzzling, however. Do the flies scatter of justice? Why does the writer compare us with an insect? Are there only wicked person in the world? Why does the entomologist degrade us? Why does he use does the biologist degrade? Why does he use same saucer as the fly? Don't we possess reason ourselves? Accept these questions. I am satisfied with Professor Vincent Dethier with all the processes and examples to justify his thesis. Assimilation. Now this is the last level of reading with the text. After reading this text, I came to understand that all the insects and animals are of equal importance. We human beings are not as good as them. Likewise, there are some other living beings which are better than us in the smelling, the power of smelling. By knowing the sensitivity of a fly, we have become shameful. Also, I know other living creatures have also the sensitivity, power, thinking power like we human beings. This essay helps to realize that scientists are creative people too, and the way they express their creativity is through imaginative and innovative experimental designs. In fact, it explains about science, and many people have negative attitude about science, but it helps the non-scientist like me to be more open-minded about it. Professor Dethier suggested in making his voice heard and helping to spread his knowledge and love of science to others. Okay, that's all with the discussion of To Know a Fly by Vincent Dethier. And before I conclude my discussion, I would like to say something here. A confused scientist conducted experiment on frog to know which organ it hears with. He first clipped its front right leg and ordered jump. It jumped. He then clipped his front leg or ordered jump. It jumped. Then he clipped the back right leg and said jump. It jumped still. After he clipped the last leg and ordered, the frog did not react. Now the scientists concluded the frog hears with his left back leg. Can we believe so? It's up to you to answer this question. Okay, I am sure you got the point with today's discussion of my topic, To Know a Fly by Vincent Dethier. And I still request you, if you are not a subscriber of my YouTube channel, please subscribe my channel. And really this video is worthwhile for your friends and fellows. For this, if you like it, please share among your friends and fellows. Thank you very much for your patience and time.